Oh my God, we're back, bro. We're back with CitizenBot show. What episode is this? Number eight
I've
or
lost
seven?
count actually. Yeah, I
I've
think
lost
eight.
count too, bro.
We're almost getting there to the average. When is it when the podcast dies? What's that number? That
Episode 10.
sweet
I
number
think
where
episode
more? Huh?
10. I think is with all
Yeah,
podcasts
okay,
die.
yeah. So I think we're still in
Yeah,
limbo at the moment. So until
we're
we
still in
get to
limbo. Yeah, we're still in
episode
limbo.
10,
We're getting there.
yeah. So we can't.
Welcome
I
to the
kind of
show,
undecided.
bots. Welcome to the show, bots. And today we've got some funny stuff, some really serious stuff, and some really ridiculous stuff.
Not
So
so serious, I guess.
also serious but ridiculous stuff. So
Yeah.
let's get started. Taji, go
Let's
for
get
it.
the show on the road, bro. All right. So this one here is one of those like what the fuck moments from Pakistan. So I was like literally crawling across what the
Feeling a bit
fuck,
nationalistic today.
and yeah, feeling a bit nationalistic. So I was actually crawling across, Reddit, and I came across this
That's not a
video.
good thing, bro. Is that the train's horn? I thought that was music.
Yeah,
I was
the
like,
train's
it's like
horn,
setting the mood.
siren, whatever you wanna call it.
Nobody's stopping. Nobody cares.
Nobody's stopping. Nobody gives a flying
There's
fuck.
like one guy on the road telling them to
This
oh
is, but the
bhaijan, ruk
guy who's
jao,
recording this is
bhaijan.
the only one who's stopped, I think. Yeah. And you can see there's a bunch of people on the other side who've been told to stop. And like this guy's like stopped
This guy,
and they're
yeah.
still going. Look at that, man.
Ooh, that
Look
is
at that car, man.
scary, bro. Bro, those are
Yeah.
operators.
There's
That's
all
from
these
the
like bunch
train
of people trying
side.
to
Oh
stop.
my god.
Yeah.
Bhaijan, ruk jao, bhaijan.
Oh, look at that cunt. He just went across.
He just didn't care. He's like, nobody's here to stop me.
He was
I'm
like,
just
fuck
gonna
it, don't give
go.
a shit,
Bro, this is like Need for Speed reality, real life, bro. Need for Speed,
Yeah, yeah. And that guy was still that white van on the other side. That
Yeah.
was like trying to edge away.
Oh,
But yeah, I mean, look at that locomotive, man.
unbelievable. 5119 REE20.
Yeah. That's running on some
That's right.
good old
Old
diesel
school,
fuel.
cold diesel powered.
Yeah. So I think
Looks like it's
I
diesel
mean
powered anyway.
yeah, and it's only got two carriages. See that?
Is there only two carriages?
Express
Or three
cargo.
carriages?
And like
Oh, there's the
yeah, it's
locomotive and
only
the
got
two
two
carriages. Yeah,
carriages.
okay. But
That's it. Right?
oh my, come on, man! Look at in the background over there. The cars just continue moving. As soon as the train is just out of the way, the cars are like, yeah, might we'll just carry on now.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm actually I came across this video just because I was on Reddit, but what was interesting is that I actually on YouTube do a lot of surfing, going through all these locomotive videos. So there's a guy,
Oh,
right?
really? Okay.
He has a channel in Pakistan known as Sight and Sounds. Okay, and Sight and
It's very
Sounds,
new
that
age.
channel, the whole thing is about he travels across Pakistan on different trains and he shoots different locomotives like flying through on bridges and through tunnels, coming out of tunnels, going into tunnels, and it's very interesting. So there's a whole world of like a
Yeah,
cult, you might say, or enthusiasts, who love watching trains, love watching
yeah.
locomotives, and love watching like carriages, and it's
Bro,
very interesting stuff.
there are
And this
people
guy's
in
dedicated his
Japan.
whole channel to do that, man.
Yeah, but
There's another guy in Melbourne as well.
there are people in Japan who are like, it's like really part of the culture. Like there's this set group of people who are really into trains, and like they know the names of all the different types of bullet trains. When was the train instituted? How was it
Yeah,
made? Like all they have like all this what we I would consider, or what normally everybody would consider to be useless information, but they have it. It's kind of like UN watches, right? And a lot of stuff like around that
yeah,
whole
yeah,
thing.
yeah. I'm
And
into watches as well, so I watch a lot of watch videos. I mean, because I kind
so,
of
bro,
own
I
one, so
recently started watching a lot of watch videos because of you. Like after that, after what you
yeah.
explained to me, I went, and then there's this guy. There's a
It's a
bunch of
rabbit
people
hole,
on.
bro. Once you go down that, it's a very bad addiction to have. It's like you just
It's yeah. There's
watching
a bunch
different
of people that I
movements.
actually looked at on YouTube, and there's this one guy who repairs watches. And his channel's
Yeah,
name is Wristwatch Revival. Okay, that's the name of the
yeah,
channel.
yeah.
There's this other guy, I forgot what his name is, but he uses his name as the name of the channel, and he's got his own online store, and he's an authorized dealer for Rolex and all these people. So he makes like all these YouTube videos
Yeah,
around.
Teddy, and I think that there's Teddy, there's Minuteman, there's so many of
There's
them,
so
and they
many
all
of
have
them,
good
but
channels.
but I was looking at all this stuff. I was like, man, this is so fascinating. Like, you guys, people who are like into watches, really into watches, can get caught up on the way the dial looks, the dial face
Yeah,
looks,
yeah.
and I'm like,
Like
what
the way
is
the
so
crown
special?
looks, the belt, the
Yeah, but what is
bracelet,
so?
everything.
I'm thinking about like, I'm like, what is so special about the dial? Because nobody actually goes, oh my, oh my, let me just
I
look at the
guess,
dial, like.
yeah, the commonality, it's a man thing. I've
Mhm.
not seen that many. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of women who are into watches as well, but mostly it's men on YouTube, at least on YouTube. And even with the locomotives and these big trains, right? There was something just about. There was a movie
Mechanics,
with I think Peter Dinklage. That's the
Peter
actor's name,
Dinklage,
right?
the short,
Yeah,
the
there's a
the little
movie
person,
with
yeah.
him where there's a movie where he is into trains and locomotives, and he says that, I mean, he says that some kid, I think, is with him, and he points out to him that we call them tracks, we don't call them wheels. So what we consider as wheels on a thing is known as tracks, and that was interesting to me. This is all this like lingo to it, and overall, I think it's just the appreciation of the design, appreciation of the engineering that goes into it. Men, I think, are there's something inside us that is naturally drawn to engineering,
Mm.
naturally
The
drawn to
mechanics,
building stuff.
yeah.
The mechanics, like I think they did some. I'm sure that now that this test, this field test that they did on kids back in the day, might be irrelevant now. But I remember that they in a room put bunch of young children, like toddlers, I think girls, into one room with trucks, cars, and Barbie dolls.
Mm?
And then they had men, I mean,
Boys.
male children, toddlers, boys, they put them into one room with the same set of toys. And the boys, they actually gravitate towards playing with trucks,
Lo and
and the girls
behold.
gravitate towards playing dolls, right? So I'm not sure if that test was correct or not, or it needs a revive. I mean,
Revision.
needs revising. I'm not sure, but from what I heard back in the day, that's what my inkling is. Like that a lot of men are drawn to. I mean, come on, man, we have this thrill of like killing ourselves, like being on the Formula One track, and those machines. Like it's a big chunk of metal that is just flying, roaring down the fucking
No, it's not
street,
even
right? So
metal.
like
It's not even metal.
we're into it.
It's like some
I mean,
composite material.
fiberglass or whatever it's
Yeah, it's
right?
some
Yeah.
composite material that is basically encasing a basic what is essentially a turbo jet engine.
It's
Basically,
body
that's basically what it is.
with a
The
remote control, right? I mean, with a
the
controller.
driver
Yeah,
the driver is just sitting.
yeah,
If you really think about it, the driver is sitting right in front of a jet engine. Like driver is sitting in front of it. The
yeah.
jet engine is bolted to him onto some frame, metallic frame behind
It
him,
is.
and that's it.
Yeah,
It's like go
and the
for it,
guy is
mate.
literally lying in his seat.
Yeah, he's
The guy
literally
is
like
literally
almost
lying in
lying in
his
his
seat.
seat.
If you
Yeah,
think
yeah,
about
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
bro,
I saw
it's
this
so
video
hard.
of, I think.
It's so hard. Like I play like car simulation games, right? So I have like this little setup over here that's like it's folded right now, but
Yeah.
in the game that I play, it's not Formula One. There those are GT3 cars. Okay, so GT3 is like not as I guess fast, but it's like pretty. It's like
Yeah.
all these companies they make these special cars that are built specifically for doing fast turns, quick turns, and quick pickups like acceleration, right? So what happens is those GT3 cars, once they are done, I guess running, the company learns a lot about like, okay, how does this engine work? So a lot of the road going cars come out of GT3 cars. Okay.
I mean, they
um
have a lot of telematics inside these
yeah,
cars,
yeah, they have a lot
basically.
of
As
telematics to
like the
capture like
Teslas also have it.
how fast the car was cornering, how fast was the car like able to take off and all that kind of stuff. So a lot of the high performance sports cars, they come out of GT3 vehicle GT3 competitions. And that's why in GT3 you'll never see what do you call it, things like You might see Toyota, but you'll never see like low end car makers. Like you will never see
Yeah.
somebody who like, yeah. So you'll always see like high end stuff. You'll see Porsches, you see Lambos, you
I
see
remember,
like
I think in the 90s or in the early 2000s, yeah, I'm pretty sure in the late 90s, Honda and Toyota, they all got into Formula One, and then I think within
and then
like
they
2
pulled
years,
out. Yeah,
something, they went bankrupt. They pulled
yeah.
out.
No, they pulled
So I
out.
think
So expensive.
it's not an easy task. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
very expensive,
it's
and
very expensive, and
I think
especially
it's
if you
just
haven't
very
won.
costly.
Like if you haven't won a lot, Honda didn't win
If you haven't
anything.
been winning, if
Yeah,
you haven't been winning, nobody's buying you merchandise, then you
yeah.
don't have any fans, and it's just like, So I think that's where I think if you look at Seiko, they've been very smart. Okay, so talking about watches,
Oh, yeah.
they have bunch of brands under their portfolio, but Seiko is like the worldwide global brand, and in within their country, in Japan only, Grand Seiko was there since the 50s. Since the 60s and 50s, they had Grand Seiko,
I
and it
actually
was only
looked at
sold
the
in
Grand
Japan.
Seikos. I actually looked at the Grand Seikos, and bro, there are some really, really fucking beautiful
Yeah, beautiful
pieces of
watches there.
Grand.
They
And I
can
saw
go
the
all the way up to
technology,
100 grand. Yeah,
and I saw the
the
technology
tech
that was
behind it.
used in it. It's like a combination of the quartz tech and the combination of the mechanical. So it's like the best part of both worlds, you know. The mechanical generates the electricity, and the quartz is the one that keeps the time from that electricity
Yeah,
that's generated.
yeah, and it
And I
has a
was
very
just
smooth
blown.
sweep as well.
Yeah, I was just blown
Yeah,
away. I was
the
like, oh my god,
the
this is
the
actually
second hand.
insane.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, and and
yeah, it
and
is insane.
and
Yeah.
then I looked at like the pricing, right? I went online. I was like, oh, how much is one of them? Like, if I want to save up, how much is one of them technically to buy? Bro, it starts at like 10 grand. Yeah,
10 grand, I think, is what Australian 10 grand. So I think 7,000 US, and then,
mm,
which makes it about 10 here.
yeah,
So, yeah, 10 grand and upwards. But I think
yeah,
there are pieces that are timeless. Like you buy them, and then, you
yeah,
can,
yeah, yeah. Of course,
if you
there
look
was this
after
the
them, they'll go
on
on
that
forever.
wristwatch revival show, that YouTube channel. The guy was actually repairing a Rolex from the 1960s. Okay, so from the he bought that Rolex in
Yeah.
'62. The guy who had that, he bought that
Yeah.
Rolex in '62, and then he went to war, bro. He went to fight somewhere. I think it must have been the Korean War. Whatever. What war was there in the 60s? I have no idea. Vietnam, I think. Vietnam War. So he must have gone to the Vietnam War, and he was wearing that Rolex when he bought the Rolex, and then he went to war.
It
And
must
then
be
he
an
wore that.
explorer or something, because they're known as field watches. These
No, no,
watches are known as field watches.
something. I forgot what it
Oh,
was.
it's a, okay.
It was a
That's a
perpetual.
normal. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so it's a perpetual, a Rolex with perpetual, and then he
So the
wore that.
watch went to war with
No, no,
him?
no, no.
It was on his
The
wrist when he
guy,
went to war?
the wearer of the watch went to war. He had that watch with him when he went to war. He came back.
Yeah.
He was still alive, obviously, and then he lived out the rest of his life. And now he is in the guy who bought the watch. He himself is in his 60s. So the watch
Right.
he wore the watch for like 50 years or something, like some insane amount of time.
Yeah. These watches
And
go on
then
forever, man.
and
High
then
quality. Yeah.
and then the watch broke. Like it stopped working. And then after 5 years of the watch being stopped working, he sent it to this guy. And this guy said, "Okay, I won't charge you any money. I'll just make a YouTube video out of it, and that's how I'll recoup, like my labor and all that stuff." Bro,
It's like
when the
those guys who
guy,
go around. It's like those guys who go around doing lawn, mowing other
yeah,
people's
lawn
lawn for
mowing for
free.
free, yeah, 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 exactly. And I wish I had those people. Anyway, so so that guy, he basically did the watch. He cleaned it all up, and he spent like a huge amount of time cleaning it up. But bro, once he cleaned it up and he fixed like those little itty bitty problems, it just sparkled, bro. The watch was just sparkling. It was like it had never actually had any issues in its life. I mean, it was obviously, you can look at it and yeah, okay, fine, it's been used because it's got scratches and bumps and all that kind of stuff. But bro,
Yeah.
if from a distance, if I was looking at it, just like if I was glancing at it, I would never say that watch is like 50 or 60 years old or whatever. I would say, yep, that's like a brand new
True.
Rolex. And it had never been serviced. Can you believe it? For the duration that he wore it, he never serviced it.
Yeah, so I think that's the thing about the older watches. Most of these watches that you find that people are repairing on the internet, or what I mean, classic watches, they've never been actually looked after. They're never, but that's the testament.
Yeah.
Usually, they tell you that depending on how much you wear a certain watch, you need to service it, They basically open it up and they remove all the parts and then they clean each part and then they
Yeah,
put the
and then they
parts back in.
redo and they put the spring back in, the coil spring inside again. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, air compressing and everything. So they're not replacing parts. They're just. But I think as part of the warranty anyway, if something is broken, they would replace it. But
Yeah.
usually, might the main difference between the luxury watches, the Swiss watches, or the high end watches is that they're all handmade,
Mm.
and each of the components are also handmade. So
Yep.
the more of the labor is involved, the more expensive they get, and the more the materials are better. Yeah, so
Yeah,
there's
but
a
I
whole
saw the
science to it. I
Seiko.
think.
I saw the
Yeah.
Seiko Grand, the Grand Seiko video. Like they have this like really, they have this video that was 5 years old, and it has this really cringy music. Okay, it has like
Oh, and it's very
that
Japanesey as
it's such a
well.
it's such a I'm like this. Okay, you're trying
Yeah,
to
these
sell me a luxury
Japanese
product.
corporate videos, man, they are like the most
Like
cringy. Like it's like
you're
they need
trying
to
to sell
hire
me
some talent.
you're trying to sell me a luxury product, but you've got this like in the background. I'm like that doesn't match. You should have like freaking like Rachmaninoff's like melody number 8 or some shit like that, like or some piano
Like a
concerto or
symphony or
something.
something playing at the back. Yeah,
Like Beethoven
yeah,
Symphony
yeah.
number 5. You need something like that. You can't just go like and like and then I'm like, dude, kya kar raha hai? Anyway,
And
if
there
you
are
if you
so many
just close.
good Japanese composers out there. They could have hired
Yeah.
someone to do
Yeah,
whatever.
exactly.
I don't
It's
know.
like such
Come on.
generic music. Anyway, so you watch that whole video, and then I'm like, okay, now I understand where this 10 grand price tag comes from. There is an insane amount of tech that they're packing into that little tiny thing. Okay? Like literally there's so much stuff that they do. They're like, oh, it's got like each like the 10 grand watch that I saw that was being made. It had like
You got the
30.
watch bug now.
Yeah, I do have watch bug a bit, I guess. It has 30 rubies in it.
Yeah,
Okay. And I'm like, why are there 30 rubies in this? Like you can't even see where is it. But the rubies are used in the internals to keep the track of the time, to make sure that the time is actually ticking correctly.
correct.
And you can't use
Yeah,
metal because otherwise it'll make a noise. You'll hear that tick 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 noise. So just to get rid of that, they're
yeah.
using ruby. And bro, I was just reading. I was like, who the hell thought about this stuff? Like like which human being was given the gift of foresight to think about, oh, I'm not going to use metal. I'm going to use ruby, mate. Like like
Yeah, there are all
like
these stones that they have to use. Yeah, yeah.
but
I mean,
the question is, how did the first guy come up with this idea? Oh, man, you know what? We should probably use ruby. Like
it's
how
one of
did
the
he
more.
have that
But you have
epiphany?
to understand timekeeping, time tracking, timekeeping
Mm.
is a very. It's as old as I guess
That was
prostitution.
as old as
One of
humanity, I'm
those
guessing.
trades.
Yeah.
Yeah, because man's um, relationship with time has been there for forever, for eons. So
Let's put it this way:
I
man
think that
has a
in that
relationship with
pursuit,
time. Man has a relationship with time,
yeah,
whether he likes it or not.
yeah. So I think that being able to track it and tell it with accurately is also a kind of a pursuit. Accuracy is a big thing,
Anyway,
and that is where
after I spoke to
engineering
you,
and yeah,
I went and dug this thing out. Okay, this is my little Seiko uh, kinetic from back in 2004. Okay, this is when I
oh, during the
graduated
uni
year
days,
12.
yeah,
I was wearing this watch throughout my university years with you. Okay, so this watch, it has, it's functioning, but it's like it doesn't keep time properly. So it functions when I wear it, but the kinetic battery in it or whatever, it's broken. So I have to go and get it fixed. But bro, once I put it back on, after like 10-15 years of not wearing this watch, I put it back on and I was like, there was so much nostalgia that just filled my brain, right? It was just like a flood of emotions when it came back. I was like, oh my god. I actually remembered the moment my dad bought me this. Like literally, we went to Alpha. I don't know. You probably don't know because it's not in Alain. But there's a place called Al Falah Plaza in Alain. Okay,
yeah, yeah. Of course,
and and we went to Al
yeah.
Falah Plaza, and my mom and dad were like, oh, we're gonna get you something special. And I was like, really? And like, oh yeah, what are you gonna get? Now I'm thinking like my like you know preteen, my like teenage brain, my क्या कहते हैं, newly turned 18 or 19 whatever brain is thinking, oh, it's gonna be another PlayStation 2 game or some shit like that, right? So stupid thing. But then my dad is like, no, beta, we're gonna buy you a watch, right? And he took me to like the Seiko. Seiko had like a stand over there, like a booth. Went over the Seiko booth, and he's like, all right, I'm gonna buy you a Kinetic. And bro, for the audience who doesn't understand, Seiko Kinetic for a 19-year-old was like buying a car. Okay, it was the most
Yeah.
advertised watch in Dubai. Okay,
At
and
that time,
at
it
the
was.
time,
Yeah.
having a Seiko Kinetic was like you are boss. You know, that kind of feeling.
Yeah.
Now,
A G
arguably,
Shock or a Seiko Kinetic was a huge thing back
yeah, it
then.
was a huge thing. So I actually got this Seiko Kinetic as a graduation gift from my mom and dad. Then when I actually graduated university, I got this behemoth from my parents. Okay, this is a
Is that a
fossil.
Seiko as well?
No, no, this is a
Also fossil,
fossil.
yeah.
This is a fossil chronograph. It's a chronograph, I think. That's what they call the chronograph, right? When you have like the extra stuff in there.
Yeah.
I have no idea how to use it. There's no manual. I don't have the manual anymore. All I have is the certificate that says that you bought it. This is certified from Al Futtaim in 2011.
Watches, yeah.
Al Futtaim watches 2011. So this is a genuine fossil watch. It's about as genuine as you can get. Um,
Yeah.
it's heavy, bro. This is like friggin' it's a hammer. This is most likely a mechanical watch, I think, because of its weight, I think. But I don't know. I could be wrong. Anyway, went down memory lane. Certainly went down memory lane. And then during
Yeah,
my
from
wedding, somebody
locomotives
gave
to
me-
watches, and yeah, I think it's just engineering at a small scale or at a large scale. But overall, I think there are all these niche videos. I mean, without YouTube, we would have never got all that
definitely.
niche viewpoints, I guess, from all these people, these content creators who are working on, especially the train part. That's all has been
Yeah,
fascinating to me. The whole locomotive thing. The people who actually rock up on time to the platform and
just to see the
watch
train.
a locomotive pass by, and this bunch of people like standing there
They
recording
take
it and everything,
photos and yeah.
take photos, and they're trying to understand how the track goes. And this fella here, right, Sight and Sounds. I mean, his channel is in Urdu, obviously. But I guess language is not really important because it's mostly visual. And I guess, I mean, YouTube is also coming out with. I mean, I heard Mr. Beast, I think, talk about that, how auto dubbing and subtitle translation, all that stuff is in the works. Like, so it'll do transcripting using AI
On
or
the
whatever,
go.
and then after that it'll translate it to the required language that you want to hear. So
Yeah.
all that is in the works at the moment. Apparently Google is working on that. So hopefully those kind of channels will grow, because there are people, regardless of the language. I saw comments in this guy's video from Brazil, bro, from Argentina. People are like watching videos of this guy, and he actually goes and finds stations that are not on the map anymore. So they were made during the colonial times, and these stations, no trains pass through them anymore. So the stations are still there, and he visits them and he shows you, okay, this was built in the 1800s and whatever, and it's fascinating stuff. So anyway, moving on from all of that, um, I guess something for at the moment we kind of are looking at technology that is kind of, I guess,
Old
is
school.
being replaced as we talk about it. So it's kind of more of an enthusiast thing. And now there are enthusiasts who are looking towards what's going to be coming into the future, right? So I need to show you this, bro. This one, I was again surfing for a couple of topics to talk about today in bed last night. And this was like just hot off the press, and I added in. So let me just screen share this one. So you heard about the new update they've given on the new Tesla Optimus, which is
Yeah.
built on Optimus Prime.
You are
So
a Tesla man, bro.
first things first. First things first. I'm gonna show you what the robot, Optimus robot, when it actually was released, what the whole thing was about. Okay, so I think this is the video there. Okay, so I'm gonna just switch off the audio. So this is the one that they initially, after they unveiled it at the, I think, the AI conference. The AI thing that they did. Tesla does it, I think, yearly or every 2 years or whatever. They revealed the robot in that one, and it just came on stage and just kind of moved its hands and waved and everything. And since then, in May this year, they uploaded this video, and they're showing you that what it can do basically, right? So it's basically mapping everything, and it's able to copy. Look at that. So you can train the robot based on human actions. So then you turn that and you manipulate that to basically look at that. So you can see its inner work. Like over here,
the guy in
if
the
you look
background
at
is
it, look at that. Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
guy's
So
like,
you look at all the
he
wire
grabbed
work.
it, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And look at all the wire work that's going on and
Oh yeah,
all the
this must
intricate
be like
stuff that's sitting
insanely
inside it, right?
complicated, yeah.
Yeah, it's complicated stuff, right? So I think and it even has, I think, graphic cards it even has graphic cards, like I'm sure there's a bunch of NVIDIA graphic cards inside it, trying to process all that. So it's got an onboard processor. So it does neural
Yeah.
networking on board.
It'll have an edge
So
unit.
this was your. Sorry?
It'll have an edge compute unit, and it'll have a neural network. I mean, no, it might not need a neural network unit, but it'll definitely have an edge computing unit on it, and then
Yeah.
for the rest of it, it'll
Yeah.
just interact with back to server.
No, these ones are not back to server. They're all happening on there. So they've been trained.
So
and
the
once they've
neural
been
network.
trained, the data has been uploaded,
Hmm?
and now they're just working off that.
So the neural network is actually you're saying the compute. Okay, so you're saying it doesn't have an edge compute unit. It actually has a proper compute unit in there.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. That's what's
Interesting.
going on. I mean, that's what they're saying by this video here. Right? So that was in May, and this just came out last night or 2 days ago.
Okay.
Check this out.
Capable
So
of
now-
self-calibrating arms and legs. Ooh, okay. So this is kind of like
Yeah,
babies
yeah, look
looking
at
at their arms basically.
So it basically looks at its own hands and everything and kind of just calibrates them, right? So now, because of all the calibration, can more efficiently do all these finger-based tasks. Look at that. So it's sorting things right now.
Okay.
Right, just all on board. Look at it. It runs entirely on board. The vision and the neural networking. Right, and then this guy's gonna try to confuse
This
it.
is good for when my child if my son throws away all his Legos, I'll be like, hey, Optimus.
Babysit your children with a robot. You hire this guy here to babysit your kid while you and your missus go and watch a movie. Look at that. There's unsorting things as well. Look at that.
Robots raising children. This is that movie. What's that movie in
Look at
Netflix? It's called Tao. Time to stretch. Which is Japanese thing where you
Yeah, but look at it. It's got like proper feet now and
the
everything.
articulation and everything. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was just
Namaste.
looking at. If you look at it,
It's still not doing
Look,
the
I
whole
mean,
namaste
it's got that
thing,
buckle
it's
as
got
well.
this-
It's got a buckle. It's got one of those like cowboy buckles
Yeah,
right in the middle. I think that's what it is. Just to keep it funny, they kind of added a buckle there.
I don't know.
But if you look, it's got all the rotors, the feet, the fingers. I mean, this is all. But the thing, right? It went from this here
Yeah.
on May 17th to this
To
here
that.
in September.
But bro, you gotta
Look at the
acknowledge
progress,
one
bro.
more thing, right?
Yeah,
Okay, Tesla has this robot thing going, but how many people have they poached from things like Boston Dynamics or some other robotics manufacturers who come with a lot of this technology in there pre-baked already? You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think the problem is that they are not aiming. I think if you look at Boston Dynamics, right? So Boston Dynamics, they have been on this journey much longer.
Yeah.
Not saying that their engineers are bad or whatever. I think that they were working off funding, private funding, investor funding, government funding, defense or
Yeah.
whatever, and it's come to them in rounds. So they don't really have a roadmap, and that funding might have influenced what they're building. So in the beginning,
type of
they were
solution
just
that they're
building,
coming up with.
saying that correct. So in the beginning, they might be building for, okay, let's say
DoD.
they just wanted a robot. They just want a robot to walk, and they didn't know what else they want to do with it. And they showed it to some bunch of investors, and they all said, "Oh, you know what? This is exciting. Can it do this?" And they were like, "Oh, I think with the right kind of money, it can." And they got the money, and then they went and built this fucking dog. Right? So I think the issue is that they are working off other people's funding, and every time they build something, they gotta show some kind of return on it.
Yeah,
Whereas
yeah.
these guys here, they are part of a company. They're a business unit inside a huge
Inside a
organization that is
huge corporation.
already on track to make money from digital subscription, autonomy in the car, and the different models of cars that they're selling. So they already have a proper amount of money in the bank sitting there, and they've allocated now a huge fund. And their vision now is that we're going to build a robot that's going to work in warehouses, or it's and they're aiming for 3 or 4 different applications with the same robot. They're like, all right, let's put him in a
Yeah,
warehouse, and all he has to do is just unsort and
yeah.
sort shit.
It's like when you're developing a product, you have to come up with the product I guess problem statement at the very beginning, like the problem that exists and the problem that you're trying to solve. And the more clearer that is, the much more focused your product development is going to be, the much more, I guess, the much more the outcome will be towards solving that particular solution. So Tesla is obviously
Yeah.
trying to make a product that fits in well with their suite of products that they already have. So they've got the car, which will drive you to and from places. Then now they've got the robot, which will take care of stuff while you're driving away in your car, stuff like that.
Yeah, so I think so the robots, they're designed. The Optimus that they call
Mhm.
Tesla Optimus is designed to mimic tasks that are menial, and they
Repetitive.
are repetitive, and they are dangerous. People would die doing those tasks. So, like, working on an electrical pole, for example, it's intricate work, but what if lifting heavy things and those sort of
A lot
stuff
of
that are
people on oil
repetitive
rigs
and,
are gonna. Lot of people on oil rigs are gonna lose their job.
yeah, but it will not be this version of Optimus. It might be one of those hand robots, one of those like big, those industrial robots, So it doesn't need to be limited to someone just walking from one place to another. It could be fixed robots doing all that work, right?
Yeah.
It's looking at and it's judging, it's sensing and using
Yeah.
vision data to basically do all that. So I think that, but I was just impressed by the progress. Like, within a couple of months, they went from that to that. And then another 5 months, you'll see. So
Yeah, but it's
I
all
think within
software
10 years, you
progress,
would
right?
have a
Mostly.
robot. Yeah, it's software progress, but at the same time, the fingers and all that, the intricacies, it's doing that quite well. So it's even developing in that area as well. So if you look at Boston Dynamics, it has balls. It just has like a rubber ball
Like a
at the
rubber
front
ball,
of
yeah.
them.
Yeah.
They're not. They're more concentrating on navigation, and they're more
Yeah.
concentrating on going
Agility.
through, maneuvering through, yeah, agility and all that. These guys, they're more like, all right, we'll put him in a warehouse. He doesn't have to fucking run around and do all that,
Do flips.
acrobatic stuff. So they're focusing more on getting the work done as a worker, and it works round the cycle, round the clock, 24 hours. Doesn't complain. It's not going to come back into the HR department and say I was been harassed and
I've been
I've been
harassed.
told shut up, and I don't feel I'm respected, and my diversity is not being. Uh, you know, it's
My
not gonna come and
diversity is
complain.
not
And I
being
think, boss, I
acknowledged.
need more. I'm, Mrs. is pregnant, I need more money.
Need more money.
It's not gonna happen. None of that. None of that. So I think eventually, yeah, they'll have a guy with the red button in front of him, with the big thick shake,
To stop
sipping on
to
that
stop the
shake,
robot. That's it.
watching that red button, and with bunch of fucking camera screens, watching the whole warehouse, and
Yeah.
maybe binging something on Netflix or watching shorts on his on the phone, and then when shit hits the fan, he'll just press the red button and hope for God that all the robots will just stop. So there you go. All right,
And then
next
the
one
time
from
will come
here.
when the robots don't stop and they go like. And then,
Yeah,
Big,
Inqilab. All right, so
Inkilab Zindabad.
yeah, so another one I wanted to share with you is another. I guess, look, this is another area that I think is just getting killed. I mean, there's traditional film-based photography, and then
Mhm.
there's the digital. But the gap between the digital and film in still photography is actually decreasing
Closing
day
really
by
fast,
day,
yeah.
as we know, right?
Yeah, I heard
it's
of
really
VFX.
closing
I heard
fast.
of this camera.
Yeah, man, I actually watched a YouTuber who reviewed this camera, and I really want to show his
Man,
video, but
more
I
than
think it will
full
not
frame.
be.
So what is it? A medium format?
It's a medium format, bro, and look at the processor, bro.
Are you
102
serious? It's a medium
megapixel
format.
sensor.
Hang on.
Yeah.
Scroll back up.
And it
Scroll
does
back up.
continuous frame rate. Yeah.
Scroll back
I'm
up.
going down, so I'm going to show you a couple other things, right?
New beginnings don't start.
So,
Okay.
yeah, and look at that sensor. So it does about 102 megapixel. Right?
Megapixels.
And the autofocus, and look at that photo, man. Look at that.
Is it autofocus after the fact, or is this while being shot?
No, it's high speed autofocus. The detection is really,
Okay.
really, really fast. Yeah. I mean, it can even detect, set subject detection setting to bird when you want to detect insects, and to airplane when you want to detect drones. Like, dude, it can. Yeah, man. Like, look at this, bro. Look at that. Look at the way it focuses on things, right? And it's got like these algorithms. I mean, it's got a bit of the process itself is kind of running algorithms, while doing motion tracking and stuff like that. And 8 frames per second, bro. It can do 8 frames per second. Maximum, I think, was 3 to 4, and this one is like almost double
per second. Far out, bro. That's actually
per
getting close to
second
like the
burst speed.
Nikon D1S.
It's faster than. I think it's close. I mean, but you understand, right? At that 100 megapixels,
At
8 frames is a
format,
big number. Yeah, medium format, right? So if you look at, maybe your iPhone can do it, but your iPhone is not a 100 megapixel camera, right? So, and I think it can go up to 400 megapixels as well. I'll tell you how. So you got your 120 frames per second display frame rate.
Look at the size of that camera, bro. It's a big boy. Boy.
Yeah, it's but this is the battery. This is the battery here. So the camera itself, the body is not that. The camera itself is like this is the battery at the bottom. Yeah.
You need like
so 5, and this is obviously not a DSLR. It's a mirrorless. So it's 35 format, right? And it can go up to.
So it's full frame. It is full frame. So it's not medium format.
It is full frame, but it's medium format. It's a medium format, but in 35, there are different modes.
Oh, so you can
have 35 mode.
Okay, all right.
You can change them as well. So the frame size, the format changes, based on what you want.
Nice.
And so look at that, bro. Look at the detail, like especially with this car one. Look at that, man. The amount of detail and the sharpness.
Like our Sony A7.
And they've introduced new lenses and it can go as low as 80 ISO.
Oh my god.
So this shot is at ISO 80. If I did that with my this camera here that we're using,
if I did with my camera, it'll be grainy as hell, bro.
It'll be grainy as fuck, right? And look at the image quality. So this is the full frame photograph, and that is the zoomed in, cut out version of that, out of that 100 megapixel. It's a lot of detail in here. I mean, I'm sharing obviously my screen.
How much is it gonna be for?
Oh, I think I checked. It's like a $3,000 one. So this here,
for $3,000 for this kind
this
of...
is 10 bit. I have to check, but don't get me wrong. They are expensive. It's a very expensive camera. So we'll check the pricing soon. But 10-bit image file with over 1 billion colors. So I mean, it's got the AGF support, but this is the main thing here, bro. This photograph here, for the ultimate quality, can produce an ultra high resolution of 400 megapixel image with a single press of a shutter release. It uses in-body image stabilization. So all you gotta do is, like, while you're holding it in your hand, when you press that button, it produces a 400 megapixel thing. It takes 20 frames in which every red, green, blue pixel has the same information, and then it combines all that together on the fly
photos.
and
So
creates
it's
that picture.
so it combines multiple images into make one image, basically.
To make a 400 megapixel
image.
It goes like tuk, 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 tuk. It does all that and stitches it together and everything for you.
In camera. That is insane.
Yeah, bro. It does it all in camera. This is like, and then this is another one. It's got the new film simulation. So it takes all the film simulation that you can think of.
Fuji cameras have
Fuji,
been known to be like,
and it's inside
Fuji film, like the film simulations. Yeah.
Correct. So it reproduces all that. I mean, in a way, you could do it in Photoshop or whatever. But thing is that it's built in. That's a very nice touch, because now the idea is to reduce the amount of processing you have to do once the photograph has been clicked.
Yeah.
So now you have all these film looks, like you can set different tones and all the Velvia
Insane.
one,
This
which is
is
a very popular
genuinely like,
film.
insane. This is amazing.
This is game changing stuff, bro. It's like, and it's got the smooth skin effect and clarity, all these grain. You can add all these different effects, color chrome effects,
Yeah,
white
yeah.
balance,
This
all that
is
stuff you can do on the
yeah.
fly. And I
Video.
recommend people watch this video as well. So it can do 4K 60 frames per second, 8K 30, and so on. And this here, um, I'll shut off the voice. So this one here is it's dark by purpose, by the way. Just in this area, it's kind of darker here because it's got that whole silhouette kind of a look that because they're trying obviously different looks, and this is like a short film that's shot in Turkey,
Turkey.
and yeah, and now the action will begin. They'll get on a bike and they'll run around, and somebody's chasing
Boy
them or
meets
whatever,
girl.
and
Things happen.
yeah, and they go through a couple of different locales in Istanbul, and kind of just shows you the overall performance of you shooting on this camera, what's going to look like. But this is up there with the Reds and the RE camera and all that. I mean, the quality is really good. It's still, you see, as soon as you go into video, it kind of gives away the whole um, the film tone does kind of disappear. You can look at this, you can tell like,
Yeah.
okay, this is shot on a digital camera, not on film. That's what I'm trying to say. So the gap in video is still quite big. The naked eye can tell, okay, this here is good, but this is not film.
This is not film.
I've been watching Succession, catching up on all my episodes of Succession, and it's all shot on 35mm film. And bro, the quality of that is just beautiful. Like, it's sublime, when you watch something shot on film. So, but this is pretty good, for what it needs to do. So anyway,
Yeah.
coming out of that, well, this is what the whole sensor is. So that's your full frame, which you can see there. And then it's got the cine, and then it's got all these
Cine
different,
sensor, the DCI
and the lens
sensor,
goes on top of that.
Nice.
Yeah, and yeah, there's all the other like you can get into it, but there's like 35mm, there's anamorphic, and all the technical details in there if you're into that. But it's basically a photographer's wet dream basically in terms of what it can do, and
Nice.
yeah, it's pretty good, pretty good. So yeah, but I think the price on this one is like I don't know, man. It's like, let's look it up. So GFX 100 to price. I think at launch is like some ridiculous large
even
format
this.
camera, like
Oh, Ted's
3499. I think that's So it's about $4,000.
Bro,
I
$4
think it's
grand
gonna
for
go
all
for
of
about
those
4.
features is not bad.
Not bad, correct? Yeah, So
What, 12 grand?
Yeah, I think. Whoa, it is
Holy
12 grand.
moly.
Yeah, it is expensive. Yeah,
It is, yeah,
It's
no,
12 grand.
bro.
It's out of stock.
No, that is expensive AF, bro. Hell,
It's expensive. It's a large format camera, so I mean,
even then, bro. It's like way too
Yeah,
much.
on
bro.
TEDs, I think. It's about. Yeah, I'm just checking another website just to make sure.
13 grand.
TEDs is charging a little bit of a premium.
12
here,
and a
but,
half thousand freaking dollars, bro. Oh my god.
I think anywhere between 10 to 12 grand.
Woo!
That's what it'll be. Yeah.
You know,
Wow, a lot of money.
That's what
man.
that is,
It's an
you know.
expensive.
it's an
It's expensive
piece
expensive.
of technology, bro.
Yeah, expensive. I mean, because it's. Yeah, but I think if you're doing runway fashion, studio photography, and
Like
video
if you're
making,
in the
it's
thing,
really
if you're
cheap.
doing it consistently, if you're using it every day in day out, and yeah. Bro, have you
think for
seen the
television,
new?
It's cheap.
Hmm.
For doing television and film, it's cheap because it's a 10 grand camera
Yeah.
compared to like those 100 grand cameras that exist. at the moment.
$35,000 cameras that RE or something. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, probably. Yeah, bro, have you seen the new digital driver's license in Victoria?
Man, I was about to talk about a digital skills passport. You
Oh,
go first.
okay.
You go with the license, and I'll show you the skills passport.
No,
Yeah.
the digital license is actually pretty interesting. So I got the phone, right, and then I got the message, and this is weird. I got the new iPhone, and then
Yeah.
literally yesterday, I got a message saying that, oh, you are now eligible for digital passport and stuff. And I was like, what?
Okay.
What? That's weird. That can't be like a coincidence. Anyway, so now you download the Vic Roads app, right? You download like this Vic Roads app, and then now you just log in. I just log in, and now, bro, you have your license now there. Like, if you just do this, you have a whole digital license in there. So it's got all your details, your signature, and it's even got like a barcode at the bottom. I don't know if you can see it. This has got a barcode at the bottom for the police when they stop you, and they're like, "Might what you give us your license?"
Serious.
And then there's
Yeah,
a
I guess
barcode
because a
there
lot
that
of
they can
people don't
scan.
carry their licenses with them anymore. I don't carry license either, man. I just
Oh
have a
shit,
photograph of
seriously.
my license on my phone.
And there's like a
Yeah.
massive QR code as well. Like you just hold this out, and then the police will just scan it for you. Or if you want to prove your identity, there's also a scanner.
My all roads are leading to that. The
All
big brother.
roads are
That's it.
leading. So now Vic Roads has my digital footprint now. Here you go, man. Vic Road, hello.
My
Vic Roads is like, oh,
just
just
on that
on
note,
just
hold
all
that
they have
thought.
to do now. All they have to do now is have a little section called banking in there, and then I put my bank details in, and every time I do like I commit a crime, I go the speed light, or I just break the speed limit or whatever.
It'll
It's
just
like
automatically
just a
deduct it,
ka-ching,
and then
it'll
you
just
have
take
to
it
actually,
out.
yeah. I mean, I
Then you
think
have to
it
actually,
already exists in a lot of places. Yeah.
yeah, we showed you that video of China, right, where it's just like looking at like all these numbers, and it's like automatically, yep, deduct.
Deduct, and then you can challenge later and get your money
Yeah,
back
and
later.
you have to
Like,
challenge your. So it's like take the money, let the plebs challenge us later. Anyway, so you were
check
showing me the
this out.
digital
So
skills
this
passport.
is something that was on 9 News. We'll have to hear
A
this.
move that could
Oh
change the
no!
way people are hired. The
Oh
government is set
no!
to unveil a new
Yeah,
passport,
bro.
a digital platform for your qualifications. Nine's political editor, Charles Croucher, joins us now in studio. Charles, good morning. How would this work?
Morning, Sophie. This is all part of a white paper that the Treasury is unveiling tomorrow, looking to change the way that Australians are employed and gain employment. This would work similar to the way the Medibank app does, or perhaps some states do with their driver's license. Effectively, all of your qualifications in one secure place, meaning that every
Secure
time someone
place.
applies for a job or wants to update their resume, it's all done through the app. It's all done easier, and it is secure and doesn't get lost. Now, the 9 newspapers this
But I
morning
still need to
reporting
resume.
that the Treasury will announce dollars, which is
Update your resume. So that's it. LinkedIn is gone. Before you update LinkedIn, you gotta update this one here, man. Look at that.
No,
a
that's
small
what
amount
I'm
of money.
looking at, right? You gotta update LinkedIn, update this, update your inner company profile, update this, update that.
And
You're
it's all this,
updating your
and it's
resume.
all sitting in a government vault, all this data, bro. And security is another issue, and like
Bro,
it's just
no, I don't trust the
far out,
government.
man.
But it would begin the process of getting this down the track. And when you tie this in with the government's focus on fee-free TAFE, that is skilling Australians to do
That's why.
more,
There
and
you
to
go, bro. Pause for a
apply
second.
for more jobs. This is really focusing
Pause
on
it
that
for a
small
second. That is the reason why they have this digital skills matrix. You know why? Because there's a lot of people who go into like these who are going to go into this skills this fee-free TAFE,
Yeah.
and they're going to say, okay, oh, I'm not getting a job, mate. I'm not able to get employed. I'm not able to get hired. And the government will be like, why? You did the course. Why are you not being able to hire? Oh, because
Yeah.
nobody's hiring me. And then they'll be like, have you tried? I'll be like, oh yeah, I tried here. This is where I tried. That's what I did. And the government will be like, no, let's have an app for you so that you can really try. We will
Yeah,
try on your
try.
behalf. We'll try to match you with a job.
Get your job.
Yeah,
We'll force you to be
that's-
free.
We'll force you to be free. That's
cohort that it
basically
is
what
now
it
of Australians that
Yeah.
are without a job, or the cohort that want to upskill, want to get a new job. It makes it all easier along the way. The unemployment
this guy,
rate is at
man. He's trying really hard to
3.7%
sell
historically,
it
but that
to us,
remains
isn't
is. He's
very
trying really
low
hard
here
to
in
sell
Australia.
it. He's on like
As if he
300
came out with
grand.
that legend.
He's on like 300K.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I
Oh,
mean,
bro.
a digital skills passport. So the idea that now Australia needs people with digital skills in itself, it's eye-opening in sense that we have a dire need of people with digital skills. So basically, if
Bro,
you're in
we've
IT,
always had a dire need of
in
people with digital
programming.
skills. Like look at our non-existent IT
Yeah, but not.
market, bro.
But I don't think so. That's the case in America and Europe.
No.
I think the problem is the policy. Immigration policy is causing all these
Yeah,
problems. There is
yeah,
enough
yeah.
people to do those jobs.
Yeah.
So they're
Yeah.
keeping people out from
Yeah.
doing these
100%.
roles.
100%.
So
No,
if people
100%.
could
That's
apply directly from India, from Pakistan, from those places like from African countries where there's a lot of talent but there's just no employment, they should be able to apply, do the interview right from there, and just get on that boat, man, and come over, and
get
with the
on that
visa.
plane.
I mean, get on that plane. I mean,
Not the boat, bro.
so
Boat is different people,
yeah. I
unfortunately.
mean, even the board people, if they
Even the
got the
boat
digital
people,
skill,
bro.
we
I
should
would be
let
like,
them in.
I'd be like, can you do this? Like, oh, get in. Get in. You don't have to
That's
go through
right,
the
man.
whole.
It's like someone's got to like do all that IT work while I sip on my champagne. So come in. I mean,
Somebody's got to deliver my
trade
pizza.
work. Yeah, someone's got to deliver my pizza, man. It's like, so because that's what's going on. There are people who come in, they have amazing amount of talent.
Yeah, they have a lot of skill, but they don't get
And,
hired, bro.
they don't get hired because they don't do well in interviews.
No, that's
That's
not
the
the case.
reality.
It's not the case. No, it's not the case. It's not about the interviews. Sometimes, okay, I know of people who are doctors. Doctors, bro. They studied medicine.
And driving cabs.
And
Yeah.
they're
So I
driving
knew
cabs.
someone who was a blood technician, a blood scientist, okay, and he was driving a cab.
Immunologist, ये चीज़ क्या बात?
Yeah, So I mean, what's going on there? So I mean, I think at one point, Age News also advertised that thing. They put a photograph of this guy on a billboard, who's a cab driver, and he's a blood scientist. And then the tagline was that, I mean, I'm completely butchering it. Something around like, stay interested or interesting news. Like, hold on. It's like didn't even make sense. Like, what are you trying to do
what are
here,
you
guys?
trying to
Like,
say,
it's
bro?
like. That was a bad advertising campaign. They didn't know how
But
to
no, bro.
advertise
I mean,
news.
honestly, look from a purely technical perspective, yes, Australia does need people who are technically proficient. We do. There's far too few people in the IT industry here who are actually technical. The ones who are technical eventually tend to leave Australia and go to America, just like the rest of the world, because they're like, man, nothing. Nothing's gonna happen in this country, right? Or they become like Atlassian, right?
Yeah.
They make like a product that everybody just wants to use, and they just build off on that product. Yeah, there's not much software being built here, bro. That's the other problem. We need more software to be built here. We need more products to be built here. So far the only ones that I can remember, I can talk about off the top of my head, is Atlassian is there, and then Canva is there, and that's about it.
Canva is there. That's all I know.
That's literally all that there is.
Not much. There are a bunch of small AI companies I've heard of.
Yeah.
Or admin documentation based companies here. But no, the weird part was this, right? I went to this AI conference, and the only companies that were there were, none of them were from the startup side of things in Australia. Nobody from Atlassian was there. Like people who were making software, none of them were there. There's only one company that was there. It was Xero, which is also, I think, not an Australian company. Or is it from New Zealand? Xero.
New Zealand, I think. Yeah.
XERO.
Yeah, the accounting company. Yeah.
They're an
it's
accounting
New
company. Others from New Zealand, is it? Yeah. So I think they were the
Xero is
only
New
ones
Zealand.
there. Yeah. So
Yeah, New Zealand based, yeah.
only those people were there. And they were talking about the workforce and the integration of AI into the workforce and all that stuff. But and Coles was there, right? So Coles, Combank, ANZ, the big ones, they were the big dicks. Only those guys were there. So that tells you a lot. Like, we have there was nobody on the panel where they were actually developing software, developing AI-based software. So you got people who use AI as a service, or they use AI not in terms of building a product and providing it to other people. All they're doing is just using it, and they just at the beginning. They're not even on the edge of it in terms of use. They're only using the same
They're just starting
simple
it out.
models, just starting it out, just simple models, doing large language models, GPT, whatever, that's it, and Gen AI, very basic Gen AI. And they were up on that stage and, telling people what the future holds and what the vision is. And I'm like, well, you guys are not on cutting edge. So, I mean, Sam Altman was here. I didn't go, but a lot of people that I know went for that conference. It was
But
one
I'm
of the
like,
startup
what are you gonna do?
conferences.
What are you gonna do going there? The people who go there,
Yeah, exactly.
they're all like product managers and product. What do you call it? They're all like product managers and product owners, and like, what are you guys gonna go do over there? Like, among like Sam Altman.
Yeah,
like,
I think
what are you guys gonna
I
do?
think the idea is also to network. Networking is a huge part of
Probably.
this space in IT, and I'm not sure if it really helps or not, because I went to a couple of them, and
It
yes, you
helps.
can
It helps
exchange
those.
your.
I'll put it to you this way. It helps those people who it helps. And the rest it doesn't actually
Yeah.
help. As simple as that.
Yeah, because I kind of felt that I went to that place, and you kind of do connect with other people. I met a few people who were working at the university or working at a different company, whatever. But I kind of felt that they all had the same problems that I guess I'm experiencing, or I'm noticing that we have in terms of corporate structure, society, strategy, whatever you want to call it, right? There's some, so I kind of felt I'm not gonna, like, even if I got to know them, I'll not learn
Nothing
anything
much
from
is
them.
gonna be
They're not
changing.
working in some space that they're having the same issues and they're having the same approach to fixing those issues. So the networking, I think the only thing it'll do is maybe you met someone who's management, and you tell them, oh, I've been working in this place for such and such, and I want to jump ship, and that's all. I think maybe that is what networking is supposed to do.
Pretty much.
I went there to actually find out some interesting characters. Maybe I could learn something from them, but apparently not really. The ones who actually know stuff, they're in the basement
here,
doing all the work.
They're not here, bro.
They're not at the net. They're not at the event. People
No,
who are at the
forget
event
about
are
the
the ones
event.
who are
They're
looking to
not
jump
here.
ship.
They're not in this country. The ones who actually know this stuff, really know their stuff, they're not in this country. They're in America. Okay,
Yeah.
the land of the free, home of the brave, land of opportunity. Okay, over here,
Land of opportunity.
unfortunately,
That's
there's
it.
like a very, 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 like there's no like, even despite how much the government tries to actually get people to take part in, like, IT or whatever. I think it's just a culture thing. It's very hard over here to actually get to a situation like that where you're building products and you are product dependent. Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's a sad
So I
situation,
mean,
but
I guess the digital skills passport. The only thing that I'm not kind of
I'm
it's
not
kind of
feeling it,
worrying
though.
to me is the security of it.
Yeah,
And the idea who has access to that information.
yeah.
The government has it, but how many third party and how many government parties have access to
Yeah,
it?
no, how will they share it? When they share that data, how does it get shared? Who?
With the ATO, are they sharing that information with the banks? Like, I'm not sure how does it even work. So, yeah. Anyway, when it comes out, it comes out. But a digital skills passport, they're saying it's a skills passport, but everything would be in it. I mean, the way they're
Pretty much,
titled
yeah.
it, and the way they're talking about what's going to be inside it, it's going to be everything. The guy says that you'll update your resume there, so that means you're going to unveil all kinds of information.
So, are you saying that Seek is going to integrate into it? LinkedIn is going to integrate into it? Like, how does that work?
Or because there's something about job services within the government.
Yeah,
Okay,
job
where
services.
basically they try to get you employed. So those job services are all handed by third party companies, who basically take that data
So they
and
all
try
have
to get you a
access
job,
to the
skill
database
match
now.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but even within companies, it started already.
In theory, it sounds like a great idea, but I think in practice, it's going to be a complete failure.
The other thing is also this, right? So, for example, I write down that I have this and this qualification and this experience, right? And based off what I've written in the app, I could be up and not. I could be granted
A job.
a loan to study, or I could not be, or I could be prioritized to go and study something that I wanted to study based on government grants, right? So that becomes an iffy situation as well. But anyway, we'll keep keep your eyes peeled. I think more information will come out in the coming months and next year probably. The other thing was that I wanted to talk about was it's happening at work as well. A lot of the big corporations, what they're doing now is that they are actually creating a kind of a skill passports for you.
I mean,
They
it's
get you
already
to
happened.
outline all the skills that you have and everything in terms of
You have
soft
to go every
skills,
year
hard
and you have to
skills,
like keep
technical
updating
skills.
that thing, that little thing.
Yeah,
like,
you have to
with your
update that
skills.
thing. And they have all that data on you, right? So, and how much consideration is put in when, I mean, it's kind of weird. Like, it just, let's say rate between 1 to 10, how good are you at, doing this particular skill, for example. Like, let's say negotiation or stakeholder management. What's your skill level? You say 10, they can go like, all right, you have stakeholder management of 10, but how do you prove it? How do you prove, where's the evidence, right? Are they going to put you through and if it's a technical question, like for example, they say, all right, cloud computing, what's your general knowledge like? And you say, oh, I'm a 9. So are they going to put you through a test? They're going to put you on a panel. They're going to be like a bunch of people, like your parole officer is going to ask you a bunch of questions. Like, all right, just yes, it's very iffy and everything.
No, and then
People
what's the guarantee that the
being
people who are asking you those questions even know anything about the subject matter itself? They could be completely bluffing.
correct. Yeah, correct. Yeah, there are a lot of people. I'm telling you, the people in the field who themselves do not know the answers to a lot of these questions. They'll have to Google it.
You were
And the
talking
weird part
about
is
that
this,
guy,
right?
right? Who basically is like the head of AI and data, but he has no idea about AI. He's the head of AI and data,
And,
bro. He has no idea.
Yeah, but the thing is that person only that person has experience in management, so they think that AI is just another thing. But thing is that you got workers, right? They look up to people who have that.
That management.
If you're going to be working for someone, it's like if you're in a soccer team, you're in a football team.
Mm-hmm.
Your quarterback or your let's say football captain or coach is going to be has to be someone who's been through the ringer,
Mm-hmm.
has proven themselves, and now they're at that top of their game and they're leading you. And I mean, if you're going to be led
Not
into
quarterback. I would
the
say
World Cup,
your
you need
coach.
someone like Arjun.
Your coach has to be somebody who's been through the ringer.
Coach is someone who's teaching you. They're not a leader. Leader is your captain on the field, like in cricket, in football. If you got Messi, right?
Yeah.
He was the captain, right, of his team. Cristiano Ronaldo, he was the captain of his team. So if you are the best in your team, then you are the captain.
Bro,
right?
did you see?
That's how it
talking
works.
about
You've
football
proven
and
yourself.
talking about football and all. Did you see all these big footballers? They're going to to all these Arab countries to play with their leagues.
Saudi.
They're getting paid millions of dollars, billions of dollars.
Like last year, everybody was laughing at Cristiano Ronaldo because he jumped and he went to Saudi Arabia, right? And people were like, "Oh man, what a joke, right? He's not going to do anything." And after that, a bunch of
Messi
players
went.
have went. Neymar is gone now. No, Messi went to America, and
Messi went to
the reason he's gone there is for a different reason. I asked that same question to someone. I said, why didn't you go to Saudi Arabia? Why didn't you go to the Gulf, right? And he said, well, the thing is that the Argentinian government is now building an academy within America, within United States. And they've got a very much more sweeter deal in terms of not the money, just the infrastructure and the support as to what he wants to do for his country and all that. So I think it works better in America. So I think he went there for that
But
reason.
Ronaldo is like,
his aim is
screw
not
it.
just
I'm
money.
going to go
Ronaldo
get that
just wants the
money.
money, bro.
I'm
Just
going
the
to get that money.
Make it sweet,
Make it sweet.
Give me money and I'll come.
Money be
So I
green,
think
brothers.
with Messi, he's won the World Cup, and now his whole thing is, I won
Do
the World
something
Cup.
for the
Okay,
country.
let's
Desh ke liye.
do something for the country. Let's do something for the young ones. So I think he's got a more of a philanthropic
Altruistic,
kind of a aim to it. Because money is not really a thing. I mean, for any of them.
For
I guess.
any of them, bro.
And I think there's Mbappe as well. He's the
Mbappe,
French striker,
guy,
I think. Yeah. And I think he's also ending up somewhere in the Gulf or I think in
But
America.
they're
again, I'm
making
not sure,
insane amounts of money. Like Cristiano Ronaldo's
Mint.
contract is millions per year or something. It's crazy.
Well, I have a very simple and capitalistic mindset to that. If you're good at something, it's like how
Never
the
do it for
Joker
free.
says, right? If you're good at something, do it for free, right?
Don't do it for free. Yeah.
Don't do it for free. It's like I want that mountain and pile of money. Sit on top of that. So I think, money is a very good driving
I'ma get
force for a
that
lot of things. I mean,
You
think about it, bro. Before we close this one off. Recently, iPhones, right? They started partially banning them in China. So all the government departments and everything, they said no iPhones. They don't trust the tech. They're collecting information, security reasons.
Security.
You do that to us with Huawei, we'll do that to you with
You
iPhone.
with the iPhone.
Tit for tat.
We're gonna manufacture it, but we don't trust it.
No, but in France, the interesting part is that they've had a partial ban, right, in all government departments. And guess what? Which is the biggest player in town in China? Government. Government is the biggest player, right? So they own
Yeah.
most of the departments. Most people end up working for the government.
Yeah.
So imagine how much of how much impact will have at the value. Because iPhones, the biggest market, 90% of iPhones are sold in China. So Apple has a huge market of iPhones in China,
So-
right?
Right,
I mean,
okay.
combination of all different iPhones. They sell like 35, 45 million, I think a quarter or something just in China. So
Maybe this will force them to
interesting
innovate,
on
bro.
that.
Finally.
Yeah, but I think that their product is now banned, right? So their innovation, I think they have to now look for new horizons. The boat has sailed on that
They
one.
now
and
have
they
to go,
now
you know what,
leave port,
They now have to go to India.
chart new waters.
They have to be
They
like
have to
India.
go to India. So
India.
that's why they've now opened up, a
The
place
Indian
in
manufacturing
India, and they're
system.
going to
Yeah,
still
yeah.
start manufacturing as well.
Yeah.
And
We're
even
gonna
in
pretty
France,
soon we're gonna get it, bro.
interestingly,
iPhone made in India.
my
Made in
iPhone
India.
12 in France is banned
Why, bro? Why is it
because
banned?
of radiation. So there's a 5 mm thickness thing. Like I think let's have a look. So in France, they've banned it. If I look at the ABC article, it says that I think it's something to do with how many mm. So France has banned the sales of iPhone 12s over failed radiation tests. What does it mean for Australians?
Nobody cares.
It
man.
doesn't mean shit. Here people know nobody cares, man. I mean, they care, but I guess we have different
care enough.
boundaries, So the EU standard is 4 watts per kilogram, right? And they say it's no risk to human health. But France, I think they went beyond that, and I think their limit is just 1. And because of that, kind of got banned. So,
France.
if I look here,
I'm sorry, brothers. in
what's France
but
radiation? The FNR said it recently
You guys
carried out random
weird.
tests on 141 iPhones, including the iPhone 12 bought from the shops. In independent laboratory tests, 2 iPhone 12s did not comply with EU standards. The office of the digital minister told Reuters. Smartphone rating tests have so far led to 42 imposed sales stops in the country. So it's not just that. There's a bunch of models that have been
So hang on. So iPhone 13
stopped
is
from
fine.
selling. Yeah, 13 is fine. It's the 12. 12 is where the problem is.
So specifically the one.
The
12
FNR
one.
said the equivalence has found a SAR of 5.74 watts per kilogram during their testing. The EU standard is 4, so they went over 4. So they had 2 iPhones, and because of that, and radiation from phones cannot break chemical bonds or cause changes to the cells in the human body, a process that can ultimately cause harm, including cancer. There you go. So it just emits X-rays and gamma rays, out of that. So but the fact that the EU has a standard of 4 watts per kilogram is like saying that cigarettes are injurious to health, but we got a cap on it. You can still smoke it, but they're injurious. That's what's going on. So basically, your phone is killing you. Radiation that's coming out of it. Australia's SAR limit is 4 watts per kilogram. So, I mean, that's what I was saying, right? All this radiation that is going on at the moment. I mean, even Andrew Huberman on his podcast, highly recommend it. You watch that. I'll give you a couple of other links as well. For the GFX camera, there is a YouTuber that I follow. He's got a very unique take on how he reviews cameras. I'll give you that link as well. You add into the description. There's Andrew Huberman one as well.
Huberman,
I guess he's famous enough. He doesn't need our recommendation. Most people know him. He has done... if you just Google it, I mean, on YouTube, if you search for it, he's done a bunch of videos that are talking about EME, electromagnetic, radiation waves or whatever. And it says that it has a direct impact on sperm count, on testosterone, everything.
On everything, yeah.
The phone, if it's in the vicinity and close to your body where you are, it definitely is having an impact on you. So, I mean, that's another issue, right? I mean, software has its own issues as tech is coming out, and hardware is having its own challenges. I was watching this video last night about the cobalt mines in Congo, how these like thousands of kids, they're basically digging things out of like whatever they got, like, hands, homemade tools to dig out all that cobalt. And then that cobalt goes back to the supplier, and then supplier refines it or whatever, and then it ends up in all these phones and all these cars and all these places where lithium ion.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a whole book written on it, man. The guy I think who wrote it, I think Desi fella. I mean, overseas born, obviously, Desi fella, but he ended up on Joe Rogan's podcast, and he talked about it. I think that's where the news first came out, and he did a whole book on it. So the price that we'll have to pay in terms of, it's a piece of equipment. It's like, what the railroads did to the world when the railroads were built and the train technology came on those tracks, and what it did for the economy and everything. It killed a lot of jobs. It created a lot of jobs. It had a huge social and economic impact, right? I mean, after the Goras left, the colonials left Hindustan, right? And once they left India, you look at it, the only remaining thing that they gave us, apart from the law, so all our law, which is known as common law, is based on colonial.
It's based on the British law, yeah.
British law is derived from that. That and the railroads. That's all we got. And obviously the language is there, that's why you and me are speaking English. English is the most spoken language in the world because of the British Empire. But thing is that in terms of technological advancement that we inherited from the British was railroads. So now what is happening is that software is having social and economic impact. It is all sitting up there in the cloud, right? I mean, in the data centers, and it's having them. And then there's hardware that's having physical impact. Radiation, radioactive. I mean, I'm sure that if you worked in the coal mines and if you worked on these big locomotives, and it has its own, risks. People are falling off these trains, dying. There's building these railroads through all these rocky mountains and all that. A lot of people died. A lot of the Chinese and the Afghans who came here, and a lot of these different ethnic groups traveled to remote parts of the world to build all that. And there's a great TV show on it as well, Hell on Wheels. There's a TV show. It's finished now. I mean, I think it ran for 4 seasons. And it tells you the whole idea of like how there's a town, they build settlements, and from the settlements they would build all these railroads. And as the railroad progressed through this hard and harsh terrain and weather, the settlement would keep moving. And the settlement would have its own set of problems and politics, and there'll be gambling dens, there'll be prostitution there'll be man of God will be traveling with them as well, and then there's the law as well, there's, and it's the Wild West, right? And then there's obviously the threat from the Comanche groups and the Red Indians. It's great, it's very insightful. So I think I mean, technology in any shape and form, wherever it comes, right, it creates a huge amount of detrimental impact to people. But I think creates new opportunities as well. So I think with the Apple iPhone ban, yes, they might need to innovate, but I think the innovation has to come from manufacturing, because in India, not everybody can afford a $1,500 iPhone. Oh, by the way, you got a new iPhone, right?
Yeah.
What's your review on it, bro? I mean, you're not using much, or have you?
15. I got the iPhone 15 Pro. It's okay. It's good. I mean, I haven't used it much because I just literally transferred everything over from my old one, from my iPhone X, my dinosaur over here. I just did it yesterday, so I literally haven't had time to play with it. Camera is freaking awesome. I shot a few portraits in this of my son, and they look bloody amazing. Like, camera is really like,
portrait mode or just normal?
No, portrait mode. Nah, bro, you gotta do it properly, portrait mode.
Like, I mean, but you went from iPhone 10, right? So I have an iPhone 12, so I want to just see how much difference does it make from
I don't think
iPhone
for you, I
12
think
to 15.
I don't think it'll make much of a difference for you, but for me, it's a drastic difference. Like, my iPhone 10 camera was like crap. Like, it was really bad by modern phone camera standards. And I guess this is good. Again, whenever you travel, and if we have to do a podcast, you can use your iPhone as a kind of all-in-one recording and camera and everything.
It does very well. It does very well.
So that's
it's
probably
not that
something
bad.
I'm going to test. sometime.
The
maybe.
video
Who knows?
quality is very nice, but I think the
Yeah.
audio, I think, yeah, I mean, depends.
No, but that's why you can
still,
take
I
your
think,
you
I
can
think
take the
should still
microphone
carry
with
the-
you, and you can plug it into your iPhone
Yeah,
with that special thing. But the only good
but
thing
I don't know
about
whether
this one
it'll
is
work
USB-C.
on. Yeah,
USB-C. So
yeah.
it'll-
We'll talk
it
about this
should work.
offline, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't work. It works with the road software,
Yeah.
but it would not work with Riverside or whatever remote
I think you
recording
can put it
software
into
you might
road
wanna
and then
use.
try to put it into Riverside. I don't know. We can try
We'll
it.
give it
out.
a shot. I think
doesn't-
that's
it
a
doesn't have to.
good call. Yeah, actually,
Yeah.
I might not need the laptop then. Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Last thing that I think that was I was going through, when the Matrix, the new shit one that came out, and which was far in the wind, when it came out, and I didn't even bother watching. I watched like
Matrix
the first 2 minutes and
Resurrections.
shit. And
But
switched
bro,
it off.
whenever there's a movie that has resurrection in the title, I go like, okay, that's it. They've thrown the towel.
Is
in.
that what the name was?
Yeah,
Resurrection.
this was
Okay, yeah.
Matrix
So
Resurrections, and I was like,
when
okay.
that movie came out, right? During that, they had a bunch of interviews that were going on, and I was surprised that when they did the Unreal Engine demo,
yeah.
there was an interview that leads up to that demo, but I did not actually watch the interview in its entirety because I kind of found that the person who's interviewing them, he was not asking the right questions, or
Yeah, because he was
IGN, I
supposed
think,
to
I don't
only
know
ask
who
a
did it. It was really,
specific type of question. That's it.
yeah, they were very close-ended, and I think the actors were not comfortable. Keanu Reeves was really trying to make it work or whatever, but I think that whole interview was super boring. I mean, I only watched like 2 minutes, and I was like, man, this is not clicking for me. But from that, someone took a clip out, which really tells you, from a philosophical, from a social point of view, that how people actually think. And it's weird that the movie had this philosophy, that guy who's eating a steak in part one.
Yeah. The guy who wants to
Can't
go
remember
back
his
into the
name.
Matrix.
The guy who betrays them, the guy who wants to go back to the Matrix. He's like,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
want the steak to taste like amazing. I don't want to know
Yeah.
that,
I
I'm
want to
not
be
here.
somebody
I wanna be
popular, like a
king.
celebrity. Yeah.
I want to be someone popular, someone happy, someone with a lot of money. The wine, everything needs to be tasting amazing, and I don't want to stress out about all these things. So I think that was a pivotal moment in that movie. Like, if you're someone who's not watching the movie for the action and actually looking at the philosophical side of the movie, that I think was very well written, a very good scene.
Yeah.
And what Keanu Reeves is talking about here is, I'm going to share that he was. Okay, let's have a look. No. so I think that is a very quintessential, I think my understanding of how, people have given up on the idea of pursuing something
That's real.
that, in principle, it matters, but probably not worth the time.
No,
You know
we
what
can.
I mean?
We can.
Like,
we
yeah,
can, we can
it's good to
we
know
can-
that it's fake or not, but does it really matter?
No, we can bring this back to the whole watch.
cares?
Watch situation, okay? We can bring this back to the whole timepiece. People, like, this is what my mindset was before I spoke to you about the watch, right? I was gonna get an Apple Watch, okay, because I was gonna get 30% off a brand new Apple Watch, okay. I was gonna buy the Apple Watch, and then I spoke to you, and then you were like, bro, that is a toy. Okay. You want to be a
It is
man.
a toy.
You want to be a man. You look at the Seiko Grand. That is what you need to aim for.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Grand Seiko. Yeah.
And I looked at it and I'm like,
There's all these watches. There's so many.
And
There's
then- no, no,
Hamilton.
and then-
you can
and
buy a
then-
$200 watch.
I don't know, but then I had a moment of clarity. I was like, you know what? He's right. I was like, this watch, like I was like then doing the math in my head, right? I was like, okay, if I buy the top grade, the best of the best, like I buy the Apple Watch Ultra 2, the new Apple Watch Ultra. It's a grand. It's $1,300 or something. If I buy that, I will use it maybe for like 5 years until it becomes like unsupported with software and all that. So Apple will stop supporting it with software. It'll become too slow, too useless, basically to carry on. Okay. So I'm like, okay, so $1,300 buys me 5 years worth of use, essentially, if you look at it that way. So I'm like, it's about $250 a year. Okay. So if I save $250 a year and put it towards like getting a Grand Seiko, bro, not only will I wear it, my children will wear it. you know,
Or your
my,
children will sell
my
it
children will
Cash.
either wear it or they sell it
and blow it
cash.
at the next, blow it
They
with a
sell it.
couple of lines of cocaine.
They go, yeah.
That's-
Thank you, Dad.
That's exactly what, yeah. I think that the likelihood of your, I mean, doesn't need to be
Likelihood of
going
my
down
child
by a
wearing a
line of
watch
coke,
is
but
very low.
the issue is that I think even Warren Buffett said, right, that Warren Buffett said to Bill Gates to Peter Gates, that do not leave your a huge amount of your wealth
To your children.
to your kids, because it'll ruin their future. It'll put them into this dilemma, and they'll become these people who will just not have
They'll
a
become
life.
apathetic.
Because if you watch Succession, is the same thing, right? The kids are useless. The kids are well-meaning, but in reality, they're useless and they're broken people. There's a guy. It's a very Shakespearean story. Like there's a guy. It's like King Lear or something like that. Like there's a guy. He's a king. He's built this whole thing. Carved out this huge empire, media empire, and he had. It's like the Godfather story, right? 3 kids with 3 different sensibilities. One is very angry. The other one is very angry, he's not able to control his emotions. The other one has a lot of emotion, and he's a very kind-hearted person, but he's kind of a bit, let's just say, slow in a way. The classic way of saying things, and he's just not cut out for this kind of world. And then you got someone, Michael, who's right in the middle, who has the anger of the elder son,
Mistempered.
the empathy of the Fredo.
Younger son.
But what he was missing is his, the main thing that he was missing, which is all kids were missing, is the idea that the Godfather himself, right? He had a huge amount of judgment, and his skill, of keeping the family together, and the idea of prioritizing things in a way that do not forget why we're really here, why we are in this business to begin with, which is family, right? Right, and like Vin Diesel, right? He's the only guy who's like in Fast and Furious. So I think, so, and I think that's the issue. The kids just do not understand where this money comes from because they never made it. And you got a bunch of siblings. Even here, man, in Sydney, houses are going for 8 million, 4 million, 2 million, 5 million. It's millions of dollars of
Ridiculous.
are being spent on buying these houses. Yeah, and the people
There are
behind
people in
it,
Melbourne who
they
there
don't
was this
really
one
care.
news story of this guy who just got out for a coffee. He just went out for a coffee and randomly purchased like a $1.3 million apartment. He just went out for a freaking coffee, bro. And it's like, oh yeah,
so-
I'll buy that,
Yeah, there are definitely bubbles in the market, but coming back to the whole idea of kids, I think money is a huge issue. People with a lot of wealth, because that's why I have a lot of respect for monarchs. If you look at monarchs, I mean, don't worry about the shit show that the British monarchy is now. But if you look at MBS, and I'm not saying that I have respect for them. I'm talking about like the current environment in the Gulf. If you look at the monarchs over there, the sheikhs, right? They have done a very good job for the last 50, 70 years keeping things in track, keeping things in line.
Yeah, but they've done
Their
it using
children
like very
have-
coercive tactics and stuff. You got to understand.
Of
that
course,
also.
you know.
Yeah.
No, I'm not talking about the economy. I'm talking about their own families.
The only I guess monarch
Yeah.
that I have a fair amount of respect for is Sheikh Zayed, obviously, because he during
Yeah,
his time it seemed like he kept everybody in check without having to resort to heavy-handed tactics.
And he brought them together, so they didn't
And he
want to
brought
be
them
with each
together,
other. So
yeah.
I think Fajera and Russell Khama, these sheikhs didn't want to. They hated each other.
Yeah.
These tribes. So they
Yeah.
took 7 tribes, put them together, and created an empire. I mean, a whole country out
Nation,
of
yeah.
it.
So
Yeah,
I mean,
nation
so
out
I
of
think
it.
people just respected him because of that. Once he was gone, bro. Once he passed away, that was it, man. That was it.
Yeah.
Like it was like every sheikh for himself. It was bizarre.
That is
Like
right.
it was
It
weird.
was,
And then
yeah.
that's when I was at that age. I was at about like maybe 14, 15, I think, when he passed away. And that's when I started seeing the change in like in the Gulf. I mean, things started going bad. I mean, they were kind of bad before, but they weren't like exploitation bad. But after his death, it was like really bad. It went like really balls to the wall in the other
and I think
direction.
my whole window into. I mean, I was very young, and we were living there in the Gulf, in Dubai, and Sheikh Zayed passed away, and obviously, for a lot of people, it was a
It was a
huge
sad time. Yeah, it was
emotional,
definitely a sad time.
time. But my main window into him, because once I kind of got serious about understanding what the monarchy is and how
Politics.
what Sheikh Zayed's role has been, the politics of it and everything.
Mm-hmm.
My window into the whole thing was actually the photography of Noor Rashid. So there's a guy, he's I think a Balochi.
I know what you mean. I know who you are.
And
I know
he's
who
from
he is.
Pakistan, and I think he settled, and he's now a UAE citizen. His children, I think,
Yeah,
UAE
yeah.
citizens. He was a royal photographer for I think the Dubai family. He was a royal photographer, I think, of the entire thing. Like he would try wherever the delegation went. So I think he was. Could be completely wrong at it, but I think he was Dubai's royal photographer. But
think
at
he
the
was
same
Dubai's
time, he
royal
took
photographer.
photographs of all the sheikhs. He
Yeah.
took photographs of Sheikh Zayed's portrait, right? That is
Yeah,
in
the big
most
portrait,
of the
yeah.
offices.
Yeah.
It's been taken by the Noor Rashid. So Noor Rashid's photography, he's such an underrated. I mean, obviously, I think in the royal family, he's obviously revered, but I think he's very underrated in terms of the royal photographers of monarchs that exist in the world. Like he didn't get his due. So if there was some
He didn't get his
competition,
due because,
not
bro, he
competition,
was a
if there's some kind of a exhibition or whatever overseas, like exhibition for like the work that this guy has done, Noor Rashid. I have actually I think 2 books from from. It's all film photography, and a lot of it is black and white. A lot of it is color, and the amount of detail, the amount of like framing, and it's really amazing, beautiful photography. Like the guy, like the way he shot these monarchs, like he would literally create that whole, the composition itself would give you that whole reverence, like oh shit,
Yeah, yeah.
like this guy's a king. Like it had really that whole majestic royal kind of feeling.
Yeah, because
to it,
he
like,
probably learned
and
it
it
from
had
like,
its
all the
own
paintings
taste.
of.
Yeah.
He probably looked at the paintings of Raphael and the older monarchs, and like he must have like.
Or I
developed
think
his
he looked at
technique from
photographs of other royal photographers. You know what I mean? Other royal and he learned from them. But the portraits and the work that went into it, like it's really good. I mean, I think that was my first, thing into photography. Like I didn't become a photographer because of Noor Rashid, but I think that what Noor Ali did was that he created this idea of how you take portraits and how you capture that. There's a lot of photographs, like and there's all these other people like guards. There's all these workers, who are standing in the background. They're blurred out, kind of in a way, and it's like, and just the clothing, the simplicity, and like Sheikh Zayed will be sitting in the desert somewhere, and he'll be like, candidly looking at something, thinking about something, and he would take his photograph. Like it's just amazing work, and the kids and all the the older people, the cousins, other noblemen that are in the family, like and I'm sure there's a lot of photographs of the women as well, which had never been published. And it's only in the royal vault or whatever. It'd be interesting to see all that information. But anyway, I think today's podcast was
We'll just close it
something
off
that
here,
went on through a lot of different topics that we were thinking of. Because I guess every time we kind of go away for a while and we come back, we have got a lot of things to talk about. So, maybe next week we can talk a little bit about your experience with the iPhone so far. I mean, I know you've taken some photographs, but the whole island thing, the dynamic island thing is really confusing to me.
It's a bit underrated. It's a bit overrated actually. if you tell me. Anyway, we'll talk about it
That's
next
Apple
week.
for you, man.
That's
Yeah.
Apple.
All right, man.
We'll talk about it next
I guess over and out, and I'll catch you next time.
Yeah, we'll catch you guys next time. See ya.
Cheers, bots. See ya.